Australia's fight against ice has reached our schools. Dealers are now targeting kids as young as 12. But a radical new program run by former ice addicts is trying to educate students about the ugly reality of life on the drug.
I never thought I would be an ice addict. Drano is a base for ice. You wouldn't eat this.
I was dumbfounded when I saw the ingredients of it.
Never ceases to amaze me how many kids are actually affected by ice.
We love our kids and we don't want our kids to fall into that trap.
You don't want to try this, guys. You don't want to try this.
This really needs to be in every school in Australia. It needs to be nationally.
Not even once!
The front line of defence against ice is moving all the time, and now it's arrived in our schools. Incredibly, dealers are now targeting school kids with free samples to get them hooked. But now some of the people who were once addicted themselves have a plan to stop the rot. Andrea Simmons, DJ Norman and Nathan Peck, all reformed ice addicts who now want to save your child from ever making the same mistake.
It's been given out to kids in schools as sample bags and telling the girls that they're going to lose 4 kilos on a weekend.
They're part of the Australian anti-ice campaign, and today, for the first time, they've allowed cameras inside a classroom to watch their work.
But I'm here to share some stuff with you that I wish was shared with me.
Andrea once had the perfect life. Husband, kids, successful business and growing property portfolio. But aged 40, she was offered something from someone she trusted. She didn't even know it was ice.
And they said to me, it'll just make you relax, stop being a stick in the mud, everyone does it. And I thought I'd try it. I lost everything that I had ever had in life.
She's been clean now for 5
Hello,
years.
Australia.
Part
My name's
of the
Andrea
2%
Simmons, and I'm the director of the Australian
who ever break free from the drug. And now she takes her life story on the road, travelling to schools across the country to warn of the dangers.
You're going to get depression, you're going to get anxiety, you're going to get psychosis. It's a really, really scary journey, and I don't wish that upon my worst enemy.
It's raw, it's confronting, but it could be life-changing for some of these kids.
What you see before you, you might say, oh, she looks all right, she's tried ice. Let me tell you that my kidneys still bleed. 5 years clean I've been.
They break down some of the myths about ice, in particular, what's in it.
Drano is a base for ice. You wouldn't eat this. Hydrochloric acid, used to make plastic, removes rust, eats away human flesh.
And all the while, barely a peep from the students, equal parts shocked and entranced by Andrea explaining the difficult path to recovery.
It wasn't easy, guys. It took about 18 months to be able to start thinking, processing and enjoying life again.
Today they're at the Toogoolawah School on the Gold Coast, a special assistance school for kids disengaged from education. Principal Jerry Maloney has rarely seen them so focused.
Normally the kids would sit for say 20 minutes, half an hour, but I mean they were there for nearly 2.5 hours.
The scourge of ice is affecting every town and every community across Australia, and this school is no different.
I put that question out there, like who on the staff, and that's 20 people, have had somebody, like a friend or a family member, affected by ice, and half of them put their hand up.
The kids have questions, lots of questions.
Paranoia?
Paranoia, absolutely, absolutely, and it's scary. Do you know what it's like to really believe that somebody's after you and that they're chasing you?
Before and after photos of ice users plays a huge role in teaching the kids that this really isn't fun.
So when somebody says to you, now we're going to do some ice, we're going to have some fun, you remember this. Remember this, please. It's not fun.
And they learn the key messages of the campaign to never try ice, not even once.
It's just that one time that gets you addicted and it ruins your life.
That's right.
And you can't do anything.
No. And that's why I say, please, for your life's sake, don't touch it. Not even once. Stay away from it. Tell your friends, tell your family.
Mate, I'd say the very first time I tried the drug, I was addicted.
30-year-old DJ Norman is another recovering ice addict. He was working in construction and ended up trying the drug after a marriage breakdown.
I didn't know how to deal with the separation. I just suppressed the feelings, I suppose.
Like many ice users, he turned to crime to pay for the drug. He ended up losing everything and only narrowly avoided jail time.
I lost my job, I lost my family, my friends. By the end of it, I'd lost my house.
We never knew whether, if we went to DJ's home, whether he'd be alive or dead.
DJ's mum Carol was there for her son when he was ready to start rehab. Now both of them work as part of the Australian anti-ice campaign, firm believers that a program like this could have potentially saved them years of heartache.
Well, I think it might have made a big difference, or even if it wasn't just for him particularly, but some of his peers, whom then might have been able to talk to him about some of those things that were going on for him.
Prevention's the best cure. It's everywhere and it needs to be stopped.
Nathan Peck is another recovering ice addict who wishes he'd heard the warnings. He too turned to crime to pay for his addiction, becoming a drug dealer.
There's only 3 ways you can make money for this drug, and that's either by stealing for it, selling drugs to make money for them, or prostitution.
Now he's the newest member of the anti-ice campaign. They not only present to schools, but also mine sites, as well as hosting a weekly online forum called Let's Talk About Ice.
I've been given the chance to actually be out here doing this work now. I intend to spend my time doing that, trying to get other people off the drug and to try and deter youth from getting on the drug in the first place.
Warning people about the dangers is part of their own therapy. And for them, the thought of ice being sold to school kids is sickening.
It's amazing. It still shocks me to this day every time I hear kids talking about it.
Last year, just in Victoria, police investigated 166 drug offences on school grounds.
It does sicken me that, there's people fronting out front of schools trying to get, kids as young as 13, 12 to pick up this drug.
And that's why the message for these kids cuts right to the heart of the lies dealers will peddle to get you hooked.
They don't care about you. They don't care about the impact that's going to happen on you, on your family. They're just after the dollar.
For students like Levi, Kane, Jay and Jackson, the presentation was eye-opening. What was the most surprising thing that you saw in that today?
What it's made of. I didn't know that it was made of all cleaning chemicals and stuff.
I knew some of it, but I didn't know the major effects, the long term. It's just, whoa.
And all of them feel ready to not only say no themselves, but also, if needed, help a friend.
Try and talk them out of it, give them resources to stop or just not to go down that track.
What do you think you'd do if someone tried to offer you ice now?
Sprint off.
If we could save any student here from a fate that ICE has in store for them, then that would just be an amazing blessing.
I thought I could try it once. And, within a month and a half I was using hourly. It took me into the pits of addiction. It took me to very, very dark places. So my message is today, not even once.
The Australian anti-ice campaign is now lobbying governments for funding to achieve their aim of educating every Year 7 to 12 student across Australia.
These kids are just so open to receiving the information because, you can't tell somebody not to do something unless you've been there.
Not even once. Not even once.
It's a good message. The anti-ice campaign is running a petition to gather support for what they do. You'll find their details on our website.